It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another one. We're back to talk about The Walking Dead. This is going to be a video looking at The Walking Dead universe, but we're going to specifically focus on the events of The Walking Dead's third spin-off World Beyond, the final episode of Season 1, Episode 10. We're going to look at the events at the end of the episode and what it set up. We're going to take a look at possible connections between Michonne's final episode in The Walking Dead's original show when it comes to the caravan of survivors she came across and the group of people that we saw near the end of The Walking Dead World Beyond's first season, who were with Felix's boyfriend Will. Before I jump into this video, there are two things I want to talk about. The first is related to content on the channel for the week that I wasn't able to put out this week. Of course, if you've been following the channel and the content that we put on a schedule, you may have noticed that I did not post a reaction to Money Heist this week, and you may be wondering where that is. Well, I just haven't had a chance to check out the episode yet. It should be coming tomorrow for those of you who are following my reactions to Money Heist. That aside, something else that I usually put out at the start of the video, and I'll do it this time as well. If you're not a subscriber and enjoyed the content by the end, consider subscribing to join our community and press the bell to be notified when I upload. Also, if you do enjoy the content, make sure to smash the like button. With that out of the way, let's dive right into this video. So near the end of The Walking Dead World Beyond Season 1 finale episode, we have Felix and Iris finding Will. Of course, Will is the person that went with Iris's father to the CRM. He was Dr. Leo Bennett, Iris's father's security, his bodyguard, for lack of a better word. And we did see him momentarily at the end of the previous episode, in the after credits, running away from the CRM. Maybe Dr. Leo Bennett is not as safe as we think. Of course, Huck, or Jennifer, who's the double agent for the CRM, made it seem like Dr. Leo Bennett was sending messages asking for help to get Hope out of the community so that she could take her to the CRM. So the warning messages and the messages calling for help were fake. However, it seems like something actually did happen, and Dr. Leo Bennett's safety may actually be at risk, because we did see Will running away from the CRM. Now, in the final scenes that we saw in that episode, we actually saw that Will was not alone. He was with a group of survivors. Now, what's interesting is that that group of survivors seemed to be wearing some sort of a leather jacket or something leather-like. Now, obviously, it could have been CRM leather jackets, just like the one that Felix is wearing, or the one that Will was wearing as well. But at the same time, it's also possible that they could be wearing something slightly different. Now, what's very interesting is that that group of survivors that we saw with Will could have been the same group of survivors that we actually saw in Michonne's final episode. Of course, in Michonne's final episode, she ran upon two survivors wearing these ponchos, and of course they did tell Michonne that they were traveling with this caravan of survivors who we also saw in that episode. So they were with them, they just fell behind. At the end of the Michonne episode, we did see Michonne alongside these two survivors walking towards this caravan of survivors, who obviously we knew at that point would somehow connect to the group of people that Rick is connected to and who are part of the Walking Dead movies. At that point, obviously, we didn't know too much about the CRM, but we did know that the CRM existed, and we did know that they were the group that took Rick Grimes away. But at this point, since we've learned a lot more about the CRM, it's extremely likely that that could have been set up for a future storyline that involves Michonne and her story to integrate into the movies and reunite with Rick himself. Even though it's extremely unlikely that this caravan of survivors and the people that Michonne ran across are the exact same people or part of the same group that we saw in World Beyond that were traveling with Will, and I don't think that really makes sense. But at the same time, I think it's entirely possible that they are fractions of the same type of group. And what I mean by that is fractions of groups that broke away from the CRM and are establishing a community on their own. They may even be communities that are merging together slowly in order to form a bigger army to rebel against the CRM. And that means that at some point in the future, we might actually see Felix, Will, the kids, and also the group of survivors that Will was with integrating with that main caravan of survivors that we saw in Michonne's final episode. And that could actually be how season 2 of World Beyond ends. And that group of survivors, that caravan of survivors, would build an army that would have the potential to go against the CRM. And maybe, just maybe, we might see Michonne in the season 2 finale of World Beyond as part of this large caravan of survivors. This group kind of takes the conflict to the CRM. They go to war with the CRM. This would be like the beginning of the conflict. And then in the movies, we're gonna see part of this kind of conflict going down. The interesting part about it would be that Rick is on the other side, not knowing who's on the other side, not knowing that Michonne is the group that he's fighting with. Maybe that's where he hears Michonne's name or even sees her. And that's the thing that takes Rick out of the equation as far as the CRM is concerned and brings him to a position where he could actually help the survivors on the other side, the caravan of survivors, rebel against the CRM. And what they could also do to make things even more interesting, sometime during the second season of World Beyond, Huck breaks away from the CRM and joins the survivors and works with them to rebel against the CRM. And you could do something along the lines of having the fate of Elizabeth Kublek not being known in World Beyond. She could travel back to the CRM. And then at that point, what you could do is have Elizabeth Kublek also realizing that Huck is on the other side. You could have it so that both Rick and Elizabeth having something in common, which is a loved one on the other side of the conflict, working together to sabotage the CRM's plans or do something to basically get the survivors to get an upper hand on the CRM in order to win the war. Now obviously a lot of what I said is fan speculation, but I think at the end of the day, the two things that I mentioned, the group of survivors that Will was with and the caravan of survivors that Michonne found, could somehow be connected, and all of that could be a setup for a kind of conflict that might come about in the movie itself. But with all of that said, I am interested to know everyone's thoughts and opinions about this theory. Do you think that we are gonna see these two groups being connected in some way, or do you think that those are completely different? And also, do you think that any of what I mentioned is setting up or hinting at a possible war in the Walking Dead movies, where we have a group of survivors who may have at one point been a part of the CRM, rebelling against the CRM and going to war with them and defeating them? And maybe even defeating them at some point during the movie. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, make sure to smash the like button. If you're not a subscriber and enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe to join our community and press the bell to be notified when I upload. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.